various animals of sizes at different ages.
We could just go with kids because it encompasses the whole children aspect and the baby goat.
No, that's true. Baby goats are a major element of our demographic.
I would hope so.
And if we're not appealing to goats, who the fuck are we appealing to?
Right.
Certainly not people. I hate people.
They are a higher form of life.
They are. That's why one day they'll rule us with their allies, the cephalopods.
Could you imagine that though? Like goat-mounted cephalopod combat.
It would be fucking horrifying if you combine the goat's ability to simply devour their opponent and the ingenuity and just sheer flexibility and tenacity. They're both incredibly tenacious animals, but the flexibility and wide variety of talents of the cephalopods, their ability to work complex tools, we're done. We're done. Can you imagine a giant mutant goat, with a huge octopus mech riding on its back into battle, slaughtering?
I think
slaughtering the masses.
The octopus mech takes it up to that next level type thing.
Well, that's what I've been afraid of.
The other thing too that you got to think about with goats is, you talked about tenacious, but they're also fucking amazing climbers. Ain't nothing gonna stop them. The fucking mountain the way they'll come down through the fucking mountains, man.
That's damn true. You have your plateau. You think you're all set up like the what are they called, the Maccabees, and Bible and all that shit. We got this plateau, we're all good. Nope, fucking goats.
Yep,
fucking goats, and you're gonna have cephalopods piggybacking on the goats because it's not like they need water. They just like it.
Yeah, it's one of those things you set your back up to a wall so you think you only have one front to defend, and then, oh god!
The goats came down the wall and brought the squids, the mollusks, the cuttlefish.
Anyways, if you're still with us through that insanity, welcome to TBD Podcast. Patrick, I do have a question for you to get us started off.
Yes, Etienne, what is your question? See? Now you know our names. We're real. We're good at our jobs. Well, what is your question, Etienne?
Patrick, tell me, how many lights do you see? How many lights? How many?
There are 4 lights! Which, ladies and joins, I think leads us into our first headlining segment, edition 1 of the Profoundly Patrick Power Hour, in which we celebrate the many varied and delightful works of our friend and brother-in-arms, Sir Patrick Stewart. Is he Sir? He's
yes,
Sir, right?
He's been
yeah, okay.
And to that point, he's got that fucking perfect, powerful voice that just kind of like speaks to you and resonates within you. If he was to, form some sort of bloody coup against the Californian government, I would, be right there with him. If he was like, fuck it, let's take a bunch of fucking elephants and ride into the heart of Oregon and take over Oregon in a hostile takeover with mounted elephant combat, I'd be like, I'm right there with you, Sir Patrick.
Straight Hannibal. Yeah, no.
Yes.
You should go straight Hannibal, Lecter, or the General, I don't care. Let's go fucking...
One way, people are getting fucked up.
Yeah, even A-Team, like any Hannibal, I don't care. I'm in for it, and he'll be able to justify it. I don't know those dialectic talents.
I don't know about Hannibal Buress, the comedian. I don't think that would be quite on the same level as everybody else. But
that'd be a little bit awkward. Sir Patrick Stewart in blackface would not be a fun...
Oh, God.
Would not be a fun thing.
Well, I think he has enough respect for the craft of theater that he would understand that blackface is a poor choice.
Yes, no, I definitely agree. But as the initial question did definitely indicate, I believe today we're covering his delightful work in the sixth season Star Trek The Next Generation episode, Chain of Command, in which he is extensively tortured by a Cardassian torturer whose name is currently escaping me, which irks me to no end. Played by... No, I can't remember. No, Robert... David Warner. David Warner is the man's name, one of my favorite actors. Involving the great line, there are 4 lights, as well as my personal favorite. You are 6 years old! Weak and helpless, you cannot
Yeah,
beautiful.
One of my favorite lines from all of Star Trek.
Just like anything produced during the 90s. I can't immediately offhand think of a better line than that. Like, just, beautiful.
Of specifically Star Trek produced during the 90s, or just the scope of television and film during the 90s?
I mean, pretty much the scope. I mean, definitely Star Trek. I mean, there's a couple of Joseph Sisko lines that I think rival. You know, the souffle will either rise or it won't. There's not a damn thing you can do about it. So you might as well just sit back and wait.
Excellent.
Which, again, one of my favorites. Good advice. But the divine work of Sir Patrick Stewart in that episode, I think, is specifically commented and complimented by the fact that he spends most of it essentially nude or in a nightshirt, which I at least am imagining the Cardassians did not give him any underwear to wear beneath. So watching that episode, I definitely would recommend it. It's a two-parter, about halfway through season 6. It's a wonderful episode, torture aside. But just remember, in watching that he is swinging free. And I think it's an important element of Picard's, stalwart, steadfast resistance to the Cardassian oppressor. That episode is that while they have dehumanized him, he still swings free.
Yeah, to second your theory that Picard is simply nude underneath the humble cloth that he's been given.
Yes.
You mentioned the point of whole degradation. I mean, the entire point is to attempt to break the man, and the fact that the man does not break.
He will not yield. He will not yield. Let's talk, slight sideline. If you guys haven't ever, people out listening to this, whoever, if you never looked up David Warner, look that motherfucker up. He was Ra's al Ghul in all the Batman the Animated Series stuff. He's Ra's al Ghul in tons of stuff. He's been in everything for fucking ever. He's the ultimate evil in Time Bandits, the Terry Gilliam film.
I need to watch Time Bandits again.
I've seen it.
But I've it's been years, and I definitely need to go back and rewatch that flick.
Oh,
I know you were about to eviscerate me and be
more just simply explode just with disappointment and shock, of all the people to have not seen Time Bandits. I'm horrified.
What was that other flick that's in the same vein as Time Bandits that you kept telling me to watch that I still haven't?
The other Gilliam film?
I believe so. I don't. This is again from conversations past.
The Adventures of Baron Munchausen?
Yes, that was it.
Because that's Gilliam's other film that he produced. It was within 2 years of Time Bandits, and Time Bandits is about the little boy going on his crazy, intense journey through the cosmos.
Right.
And the companion piece is Adventures of Baron Munchausen, where it's the little girl going on her crazy adventure through the cosmos and time and space. And I think the two are wonderful companion pieces and follow that same kind of crazy dream reality split. I think that Munchausen deals a lot more with the ideas of theater and performance, and also with the line between dream and reality a little bit more than Time Bandits does. But then again, Time Bandits is entirely based around the idea that, was it a dream? Was it not a dream?
Right.
Wait, it's not a dream. Oh God, Polaroids. Why is it all burning? Hey, it's Sean Connery. Hey, God hates you, Kevin. Which, upshot of the film, God hates you.
Which is, I think, a sentiment that most of us in the modern age can get behind.
I
know you love the Carlism. I don't know if I believe in God, but if he exists, he definitely hates me because he allowed you to create a dog that constantly rapes me.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect illustration of at least how I feel about God, and I think that speaks to many in the modern world, and especially in our generation. I feel like we're truly representatives of our generation. It's I'm lying through my teeth. It's not in any way accurate.
I mean, the other thing too is it's different based on where you are. Like Thomas recently has been spending a lot of time in Oklahoma, and obviously we live in California. So different atmosphere, different people, different I guess societal norms, culture to an extent. So I mean, I like to think that certain things are some way in certain parts of the world, but like you get like that little glimpse into some other person's life, some other essentially reality that's going on somewhere else, and you realize, holy shit, no, some things really haven't changed.
Yeah, no, like not at all. And it's just it's weird shit. Like a perfect example of that, the first time I ever went to Wisconsin, which is with family and to see family years ago, I had traveled outside of Los Angeles a few times, mainly to other major metropolitan areas on the West Coast, one time New Mexico, and I'd just gone to Europe, which is this ridiculous cultural melting pot, and you see people from all different kinds of backgrounds running around. And immediately afterwards, I flew with my father I was 15 at the time, flew with my father to Wisconsin to go see the family. And I was angry as hell at the time because I wanted to get back to Los Angeles because my buddy had tickets and was going to take me to the one night only of Sir Ian McKellen's one-man show that he wrote specifically for that night, for this performance, for this audience, called A Night Out in L.A., and I desperately wanted to fucking see it, and my pops at the last minute was like, hey, I've got great news, we're going to go study family history and genealogy and see your family in Wisconsin. And I'm like, any other time I'd be totally down with that because I love genealogy, but can we go see Ian McKellen? No. So we went to Wisconsin, and I couldn't put my finger on what disturbed me the whole time. I just felt wrong. I felt unsettled. And finally, it was after a 12-hour day of walking around graveyards in northern Wisconsin. We stopped at a diner for food, and I noticed that the waitress was black, and I looked into the back, and the cooks were black. And I looked around the restaurant, and all the customers were white, and I realized, my God, for 5 straight days, I've seen not white people. And, especially growing up and living in Los Angeles my whole life, it's not an experience you have. It's kind of unfathomable. And that terrified me. That full-on terrified me. And, Wisconsin, current governor and political trends aside, is primarily, a very liberal state. And to me, that was one of those things where I was like, you're not even in the South, but y'all segregated as hell. Buffalo, New York, heart of New England, segregated as hell. And it's just weird to me, how there are still those weird pockets of Solder.
Oh, totally.
Elements.
I mean, part of that, too, I think has to do with the spread of people, where A, people were taken, and B, where people chose to go when they could choose where to go. I mean,
that's a good point.
Definitely, if, I was of African American descent, there's places that I would choose to live rather than places that I would live.
Well, and there's also, of course, the entire, the white flight phenomenon, where, you had black people move into these communities, and then immediately afterwards, the white people went, oh my God, and then fled, which is, I actually read this ridiculous fucking article in the LA Times yesterday, about, yes, that's goddamn right, I still read the newspaper, about, essentially white flight from Alhambra because they're freaking out because the Asians are coming. How dare they replace our Ralphs with a superior Asian supermarket? We want to drive to pavilions and pay more.
Yeah, because
we don't want to smell ethnic food. It was basically the upshot of the article. It was what?
There was a little bit of that in San Marino too, which is interesting because you think about San Marino being a white Asian split almost.
Yeah, essentially, it's
at this point. But in the 40s and 50s, when Asian people started moving into the neighborhood, there was a lot of white people that like freaked out and like fled, and like I hung out with a few white people who still live in the neighborhood, and they've got like weird institutionalized pseudo racism to Asian people. I was not pleased.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's fucking
yeah.
Like,
I mean, it goes back to the whole idea of, it's only going to take one generation for that shit to die out. No, it's not.
No, I mean, deep-seated cultural issues enshrined in thousands of years of cultural warfare and nationalism and, racial superiorityism. I don't know if that's not the term, obviously, but you understand what the fuck I'm saying.
It's okay, you've coined the term, so it exists now.
Superiorityism. It doesn't disappear, And I mean, it's one of those horrible things pointed out by geneticists, which is, racism originally evolved as a survival trait. You see somebody who doesn't look like you,
right.
Chances are they're here to burn your huts and steal your food.
Right.
And unfortunately, in the modern era, where that is no longer actually fucking anything that, 99% of the world needs to worry about, like, we're still not exercising the mental capabilities that we have developed in order to overcome these basic genetic, things. It's easy.
I totally understand.
It's not easy, but
and
we have the fucking capability.
We've taken a sharp downward turn
into like super serious discussion.
But going back to Sirs Ian McKellen and Sir Patrick Stewart.
Of course.
Are there many friendships that we've seen in in public that are shared like that are as beautiful? Do you think?
Not many. I mean, I love it kind of as a weird friendship story because of the length of time that they've known each other,
right.
And then when they actually became friends, which was comparatively very, very, very late in the amount of time that they've known each other, like from RSC and shit. For you cretins, the RSC is the Royal Shakespeare Company. But I'm sorry I keep yelling at you, our hopefully devoted listeners.
He does it because he loves you.
Yes, the same way that when I beat you, it hurts me more. Do you hear me, Timmy? You get back in your cage.
Now, when I drink that tequila,
I'll go. Woo! So better look out, because go right outside the head. Ooh. I do not freebase cocaine in a church, during the sermon. Where the fuck were we? McKellen Baptist Church. There aren't very many of those wonderful friendships like that that have truly blossomed, and especially between just two kind of funny old men is especially makes it kind of endearing, and the fact that they did Waiting for Godot and shit with each other and just kind of wonderful. I don't know. Offhand, I definitely can't think of anyone else who's had such a beautiful public friendship in recent years.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think the other thing that was cool from that too is the whole run of X-Men with Patrick Stewart playing Xavier and Ian McKellen playing Magneto, and having that whole thing of two people who very do much have a very close, tight-knit friendship, playing people who had a close, tight-knit friendship and are still kind of friends, but tensions have become a little strained.
And who do deeply care for each other, which is one of the wonderful things about that relationship, both in the comics and I haven't seen many of the later films because I heard bad reviews.
There's things to like about them. There's things to not like so much about them.
But that tension of the I do really care about you, but the stakes are so much bigger than our friendship.
Right.
And both of them know that and believe that to their core, but have such radically different philosophies on how to, carry it out. It's, you've got essentially lawful good, chaotic neutral. And is that accurate?
I
guess it might be lawful good.
So.
Yeah, okay.
I Magneto, I don't think is a clear-cut character. I don't think you can say that he's evil. he views himself to be good and in the right and doing things that are just, but in the global scheme of how it affects other individuals, I don't think you can truly call him good either.
Yeah, which is why. So it might, but he is also very lawful. Like, he's about the order, but I mean, there's also a lot of personal freedom stuff in his philosophy.
Yeah, it's more like he has a credo and he sticks to his credo. But in terms of, again, you know, how society views him in terms of global rules and laws, he frequently does not give a flying fuck.
So philosophically, he's like a lawful neutral.
Right.
Effectively, he's like a chaotic neutral.
Yeah.
Which, I love that everything in the universe can boil down to
D&D terms.
It always does. It's great. It's like, oh, he just failed his reflex save. He just ate it. Oh, whoops, you shouldn't do that without a higher will save, man. I mean, that's, you know, we put a lot of ranks into perform dance. It's really remarkable. I have problems.
It's okay.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh, God.
But back to the X-Men films, I think you should at least see the most recent one, Days of Future Past, because it fixed a lot of the problems in the old kind of like story arcs that they had.
Which I think was part of the point.
Yeah, it was. It's a little bit different because mostly it focuses on the whole, you know, going back to the past and the like new Marvel that they kind of going off of First Class.
Okay.
What they did with that. So it's a lot more the old actors, what they were doing back then, rather than, you know, Ian McKellen, Patrick Stewart, fucking Halle Berry, whoever the fuck else was in.
Yeah, Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman goes with them.
Of course he does.
Because basically they decided that he's going to carry the torch for fucking X-Men, even though he's dead in the comics right now.
Well, though, and he did actually finally come out and say, I believe that Apocalypse is going to be his last film as...
I don't know. I know they were talking about one more. So I don't know if that's one more besides Apocalypse or if Apocalypse is the last one.
No, that's a good point. I think it's one more plus Apocalypse because there were talks about them doing Old Man Logan and having Hugh Jackman for Old Man Logan, which would be really interesting.
Yeah,
I'd be into it, but you know,
the other thing
I haven't seen him stretch those.
Is the technicality behind it, because like we were talking last night about, you know, technically Old Man Logan is not Wolverine, but he's totally Wolverine.
Yes.
So if Hugh Jackman went on and was like, "Oh, I'm not Wolverine anymore, I'm Old Man Logan."
Old Man Logan. Yeah,
it's just be like, what the fuck, guys?
That's some bullshit. That's some bullshit. Bait and switch. Well, you know, in other wonderful news about so many lines. I definitely want to see Days of Future Past. I've heard wonderful reviews of it. My roommates actually just bought like a brand new Blu-ray copy that we can watch on my luxurious 22-inch tube TV, hooked up to our high-def, you know, technology. But I'm definitely on board with that. In other wonderful comic book film news, with bringing back actors playing roles who weren't supposed to be doing it or who had stopped doing it, The Killing Joke news.
Oh, right.
Which I've been super loving. With Mark Hamill officially now on board to do Joker for it, which I love, and potential of having Kevin Conroy on board as well, which ebullience, would definitely, I think, is definitely going to make the studio capitulate and seek him out on that front.
It's an animated flick, so having the two arguably best or most iconic voices for those characters is just a smart move.
Well, yeah, definitely. Both, I think, creatively and monetarily speaking. But yeah, no, I mean, I definitely feel that. I mean, Kevin Conroy is definitely one of my top Batmans. I don't know if he's my favorite. Hands down, no argument. I think that Mark Hamill mastered the old school traditional like character of the Joker as it's been for the last 30 years in the comics, better than I think anyone else has. And, as wonderful as other interpretations, the classic, Jack Nicholson, which has its flaws, but I thought was a wonderful interpretation. And what's his face? The dead
Heath Ledger.
Heath Ledger. Yeah, Heath Ledger's, which was a wonderful new take.
Yeah, it was interesting. I watched the Heath Ledger Batman movie with my mom, and she liked it, but she thought much more that like Jack Nicholson fit the character better. So I think it's interesting just having like the different Joker being kind of fitting with the generation.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
Which was an interesting lens into that character, saying like, okay, you grew up during this time period. This is what you prefer. I'm more of this era, and I'm not going to say that I prefer Heath Ledger's Joker, but I think it was a really good take on it.
Yeah, I thought it was a wonderful take. Well, which is what's great now about the fact that I think everyone pretty much universally agrees from multiple eras that Mark Hamill is the best, which is the wonderful transcendent nature of the fact that voice acting can allow you to create this texture of a role without the necessity of having all of the physicality elements as well.
I mean, as much as I love Mark Hamill, I don't think he could actually play Joker in a physical form.
That shit would be so funny. Like, oh man, all the respect in the world to Mark Hamill, and like all accounts a wonderful man, but the guy looks like a fucking train wreck.
Yes.
And he does not have the long narrow jaw nor any of the sprightliness I think necessary to play that role even in old age. No doubt his turn on, I think it was season 7 of Criminal Minds, was wonderful, but he wasn't exactly the most active character, and you'd need need Joker to be spastic and able to.
He is an element of chaos.
Yeah, which I did love so much of what he. I obviously Etienne already knows this, but. I just finished Batman Arkham Asylum for the first time, Really, I'm on that cutting edge. You guys can tell I got my 22-inch TV.
And you totally own a current-gen console.
Oh, of course. The PS3, top of the line, right after the Sega Dreamcast. Hey, and my Sega Saturn, I'm still trying to get to work.
Your PS3 is at least the backwards compatible one.
No.
So you're shitting me.
No.
Whatever.
It's a deep source of sadness that it's not backwards compatible.
It looks like the backwards compatible version.
It does. It's a fucking lie. I have a bunch of PS1 and PS2 games that I was like, yeah, I'm gonna... Fuck you. I got so mad.
Damn.
I wouldn't have given my entire collection to my sister. True. I mean, I love my sister. There were a bunch of games I would have given her, but there would have been a couple that I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna hold on to this front mission
I need this for personal reasons.
For late nights alone, the way Mario Party is for me.
I mean, I know you've played plenty of Mario Party alone.
Yeah.
Mario Party alone is truly the epitome of sadness.
It is. There was a point when I was in the garage in Hollywood. The listeners, I lived for about 18 months in an unfurnished garage in Hollywood with no internet and spotty electrical and not regular access to a bathroom, and a lot of wonderful elements of living there. Got some good punk rock done, but
all I know is hate.
Pretty much. I actually wrote a song called "I Live in a World of Piss." That was a very, very literal depiction of that environment. But there was a while where my buddy was letting me borrow his Wii. Basically, he brought it over. He didn't want to trek it back on the train, and was like, "Hey, can I just leave this here? You take care of it." And I was like, "Yeah, for sure." So he left me with The Force Unleashed 2, which is not a good game.
I know nothing about it. I know it's the second in the series where you follow the apprentice character.
He's miserable. Star Killer. You just want to strangle him and everything. That was actually recently playing Soul Calibur 4. One of the final things in arcade mode is you fight him. And he's like, I don't care about your problems. That's his like opening like shit talking line. I almost threw the controller then and quit.
No, I
hate him.
As I said, I know you were a firm fan of Soul Calibur, and I knew you were going to have major problems with that game. Yeah. And even more problems with 5, which I'm glad that you've still yet to play.
I made it through about 10 hours of gameplay of 4 before I was like, I can't do this. I'm going to hurt someone I love. Going back to Time in the Garage, I only had The Force Unleashed 2 and Mario Party 9, which is arguably the worst fucking Mario Party they ever made. And it's the one where they introduced the stupid, we all ride together in a car mechanic, but didn't yet have, the I'm Bowser, I'm gonna kill you mechanic. So I ended up playing, my best friend had moved out of the garage, we originally shared it, and so it was just me alone with my misery, and I spent a huge number of nights alone all night, sitting in the dark playing Mario Party 9 alone. And I don't regret it, but it was probably unwise for my mental health.
That makes sense. I mean, misery loves company, even if that only company is Mario Party 9.
Which is an equally miserable thing. It was like, I'm miserable, it doesn't want to exist, I don't want to, it's perfect. It's perfect.
But yeah, I don't begrudge Nintendo trying new things with their games, especially franchise titles that have been around for so long. It just sucks when they completely ditch dynamics that have worked. Like with fucking Double Dash, why has that never been a fucking... There've been like 2 or 3 new fucking Mario Kart since then, but...
Well, and Double Dash is still the most widely played Mario Kart by a huge margin because of that extra interactive element of you have the one person controlling the back end and one person controlling the front end. You have that whole... It's a totally different dynamic. And again, I don't know, I agree with you. It's depressing when game designers feel this need to change a core mechanic of the game in order to capture a new audience.
Right.
And what was wonderful about Double Dash was that it augmented it. It didn't change the core... it didn't change the core mechanic. It augmented it and added in this deeper level of play. And I thought that was wonderful, as opposed to the Mario Party change, where you change the basic dynamic of all of us trying to fuck each other in the face as hard as we physically can to get the most stars so that we can mock the others and hold our trophy high while they perish in the depths, to, we're on an adventure together.
But it's still not even that, because you fuck people over. It's not a team objective, except for in the Mario Party 10 when you're specifically versus Bowser.
Yeah.
It's all about the fucking mini-stars, which are stupid.
Yeah.
And, you don't even go around the fucking track anymore. No. It's just it's a race from start to finish.
Well, stop being a fucking board game. Like a real good board game where you rotate the board instead of... being like, this is Candyland.
Hey, don't talk shit about Candyland.
Motherfucker. Fucking Candyland. I played me my share of Candyland. Fuck that shit. Not a Candyland fan.
Maybe I haven't played enough Candyland, but there's just something whimsical about it that takes me back to days of yore.
I understand, but that was true until there was a long period of my childhood where I just played the only board game I was playing. I was playing board games with my sister. She was the only person I was playing board games with. And she only wanted to play Candyland. This is when she was 3 or 4.
I get that, though.
And I was just like, God damn it. At least let's break it up with chutes and ladders. Want to play Trivial Pursuit? No, you can't play Trivial Pursuit. So,
it's another pie wedge for me. Hey! Fuck, do you even know anything?
Why don't you know about your fucking cultural references from the 80s? It's almost like
you weren't born then.
Neither was I. Oh, God. But, yeah. And again, all love to my sister. She's fucking amazing. But that broke Candyland for me. That stopped being enjoyable.
I kind of had similar experience with my cousin's kids. I was up living with them back in 2009, and my cousin was finishing up his degree at UW, and so I was either alone with the kids or like helping him and his wife take care of the kids. And like really when they're that age, because they were 3 and 5, it's like you find one thing that you like and you latch onto it, and it's all about repetition and this thing over and over and over again.
You power slam it into the ground. It's like the scene in Kung Fu Hustle where the beast just keeps punching the guy's face over and over through the floor. Like, it's painful. And it's understandable, and God knows I did the same thing. I mean, I don't remember what I was chain watching at that point other than Star Trek The Next Generation.
And we're back.
And we're back to the top! Which I think anyone out there who's actually seen this two-parter will agree with me. Fuck Edward Jellicoe. Fuck Jellicoe. Get it done. Why don't you go fucking drown yourself?
Yeah.
I wanted to kick his ass. I mean, like, the one cool thing is that he actually, there's the scene of him talking to Troy, and then after that point, Troy doesn't just randomly not wear the uniform, and instead wears, wasn't just wearing sexy catsuits anymore. She's actually wearing a fucking, lieutenant's uniform, which is her rank. But, that's like the one good thing to come out of Jellicoe's time as captain.
I will say, like, it almost never fails that whenever Picard is not on board, shit happens. Shit goes haywire. Somebody fucks up. Somebody does something stupid. Like, I mean, he is really the fucking steadying influence. He is the mind. He is the logic. He is the tactician. He is the Rock.
Well, I mean, he's the motherfucking captain.
And I don't mean Dwayne Johnson. I mean like an actual Rock.
Though I would love to see Patrick Stewart play Dwayne The Rock Johnson in a biopic about Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Or to see Dwayne The Rock Johnson do Patrick Stewart in a biopic about Patrick Stewart.
That would be excellent. I'm not sure which one would... I think I would prefer to see Patrick Stewart play Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
But dude, think about that. You could have both films produced in parallel. Like... have them come out at the same time.
You could even have theaters go back into what they did in the old days and have double features. So you have like a 3-hour.
The first half of this is the story of Patrick Stewart. And the second half of this is the story of Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I would love that. It would be fucking wonderful.
Somehow I don't think that's ever going to be a reality. But I want to exist in the reality where that flick... or those two films are real.
Yes.
I mean, if we're going to accept infinite possibilities, there has to be a
universe where that exists. And, leaving out, of course, the problematic elements of trying to make, Patrick
look
Stewart,
like each other.
Look, ethnic, for want of a better term, because I know that he's part, I know The Rock is part Samoan, I think he's part black, and part Mexican? I don't actually know. I know that he's, like, the grandson of, like, a legendary Samoan, like, wrestler, and, like, his whole family were, like, hardcore old-school Samoan wrestlers. I don't know.
I don't know either. I definitely did not follow him from his... wrestling days. I mean,
many of those before my time.
I got to know him like when he started doing films. Like, I absolutely love The Rundown.
The Rundown's fucking wonderful, and it shouldn't be as funny as it is, but it's so fucking funny.
It was intended to be funny. I mean, you don't get that pairing of casting without it intending it to be funny.
No, of course
not. Or
not.
If you do, you're fucking stupid and you should not have your job.
This is a serious film about the plight of gold miners in South America, starring John William Scott. Wait. But no, I absolutely love that movie. The Tooth Fairy monologue. Fucking...
I have not seen The Tooth Fairy.
No. It's in that. The Christopher Walken monologue where he's talking to all of the goons about, like, I feel like a little boy who's placed his tooth under the pillow, and before the tooth fairy could give him his shiny new quarter, had it snatched away. And there's like the moment where his translators are like staring at him and then like translate it. And he's like, do you understand what the tooth fairy is? Do you understand the concepts I'm talking about? All the guys are just staring at him like he's insane. Cause he is.
Yeah. Sorry. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was also in a movie called The Tooth Fairy.
Oh, I know. I missed that.
That's where I was like, okay, we're on a new tangent now, and I have no idea where the ship is going.
The monologue from the Tooth Fairy, the spellbinding, heartbreaking fourth act confession of the sins that made him the Tooth Fairy. I haven't seen that, but that's, I think, definitely a drunken movie. That's one, get shit-faced and watch it.
I'm down. I've also wanted to have the Home Alone marathon day where I just get wasted and watch all of the Home Alones.
And like start with it kind of good while you're a little bit sober, and then
even slowly... the ones that don't even have Macaulay Culkin.
Well, he's only in the first two, right?
Yeah,
and there's like 5.
I thought there was only like 3 or 4.
I thought there were 5. There might only be 3 or 4. I saw the ad for like either 3 or 4 in the paper when I was like 14, and I was like, you just need to stop. You really need to stop.
Well, I don't think I've ever seen any of them in their entirety. Is the other thing.
Really?
Yeah, they weren't something that appealed to me. It's not something that like, you know, when I was growing up, they weren't like, oh, this is a family movie. We're going to go see this in theaters. Wait, how is this a family movie? It's about a child being abandoned and then fucking...
Well, and also his family's awful. Like, that's the whole point made at the beginning is like, his family fucking sucks. And...
Well, isn't the second movie basically him running away?
I did not actually see the second one.
I've seen part of the second one, and he's basically run away. I don't know if that's because his parents are awful or if because people are chasing him.
I'm pretty sure they fuck up and they actually bring him on vacation the second time and then forget him in New York. I think that was the...
Oh, okay.
I think that was the base concept. But again, I haven't seen the film. I don't understand why they went from the wet bandits to the sticky bandits. I read press on the second film.
It's progressive. You gotta amp up your sexualization of the bandits.
Oh, that's horrifying. I don't want to think about Joe Pesci and whoever the other fucker was.
Sticky.
No, I don't need that. They spent enough of the first film sticky without proudly declaring it. Also, those motherfuckers got out of jail quick. That's what I'm saying. Unless they like went on the run to New York, which is not the place to go on the run.
No.
Not at all.
I don't want to go to an overpopulated city where the police are going to harass me.
Aggressive policing. Ha ha! But yeah, no, that would seem unwise. Though, I don't know. Again, I'd be down to join you on that Home Alone marathon.
That marathon fucking pain and awfulness.
Well, it'd be like trying to do Land Beyond Time, which unfortunately my only exposure to was The Land Before Time 13, The Great Longneck Migration, which, watching the film, it looks like it's going to be a build-up to the meteor that kills the dinosaurs. And I started watching, and I was like, this movie is kind of garbage. I mean, it's a children's film, obviously. But
right.
This movie is kind of garbage, but the long necks are all having prophetic visions of giant meteors coming and, like, fire raining from the sky and things exploding, and they all feel this deep compulsion to go to this place. And I'm like, are they gonna like do origin stories of Dinotopia here? Is that what's happening? And no, it at the end there's just a meteor shower and it's really pretty. Which, for me, I was really hoping it was going to end with, like, fire and death from the sky. Only Littlefoot, or whatever the fuck the main one's name is, only Littlefoot survives with a few of his closest family members. The darkness overtakes the world.
You know, it might have been a bit much to teach children about the whole, you know, extinction of the dinosaurs, but they gotta learn one way or another.
Fuck it, ain't no dinosaurs today, kids, unless you count the ostrich, and none of us do. So,
well, it takes me back to another Sean William Scott line and Role Models, where I forget if he's like fucked up on drugs or or like just tired. I forget what his subset of circumstance is, but he like walks past him and he's like, "Did you know that the dinosaurs are not technically extinct because birds are dinosaurs and they're everywhere, man?" And then he just walks away.
It's actually pretty fantastic. Along the lines of role models, which I did not see, but which I gather
you should.
I should.
I definitely enjoyed that flick. The TV edits of it are just awful. I was watching one on TBS where I was like, you cut things that didn't need to be cut. I also really hate the censorship that happens in a lot of the video edits, where they don't even bleep it, they straight up change the dialogue.
Well, and the things that don't make sense. Like, it would have been so much simpler to be like
bleeping annoys me, but it's still better than fucking changing words.
Hey, go freak yourself.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I'm gonna say it right now. Yeah, that's like the greatest thing about no longer having like a cable subscription or like TVs with antennas in my possession. Is that I haven't had to deal with that in a while, and oh my god, so much better.
It's one of those things where you flip a channel and you're like, oh, Burr is on, and you're like, oh yeah, man, I really want to watch this movie, and then you're stuck watching this movie because you wanted to watch it.
Yeah.
But it's painful because it's the TV edit, and they've edited things sometimes without reason.
Yeah, for no reason. My favorite example of that being, back in the day, TBS used to do this thing called the 7 Days of 007. They might still do it. Again, I haven't on TV in a long time. But whenever they did Diamonds Are Forever, they left in, like, one of the gay assassins burning to death and jumping off the boat, and you being able to see his, like, mostly charred body floating in the ocean off the side of the boat. But they cut out all of the shots that actually, like, visually explain that they're a gay couple. But then also leave in the line on the airplane where Mr. Kidd turns to Mr. Wint and goes, "Seems that Miss Case is very attractive." And Mr. Wint gives him like a dirty look and he goes, "For a lady." And you know, if you're watching the movie and you've like cut the scenes of them like cuddling or them like holding hands, you're like,
makes sense.
The fuck? And it moves on. But yeah, like I just don't understand television censorship in that manner. Like,
well, the other thing too is, I mean, especially late night cable, I think you should be able to get away with more in terms of like, because I mean, I was watching role models at like 11 at night. I mean, I understand that, you know, you're not fucking HBO or whatever, but I mean, it's late night cable television.
Like, if you're letting your kids stay up and watch it, gotta be what it is.
Yeah,
you know. Like, I mean, shit. At least IFC left things uncut, even things that should not have been uncut, like Vampiros Lesbos, or so it was called Vers la Mer, See the Sea, SEE, the SEA.
Yeah, I followed, but thank you.
French film that just one of the most miserable fucking things I've ever watched. Literally goes like just a bunch of like vaguely off-putting things and like kind of creepy dialogue for an hour and a half, and then suddenly at the end the child is kidnapped and there's excessive gore. And you're like, well, there was no build to that. There's like 2 seconds of sexy lesbian kissing, and then an exterior shot, and then gore. Long, still shots of gore. Like, sitting there. It's not even like active gore. It's like, oh, tortured to death body in a tent. Like, the fuck? Sorry.
There's times when some things need no explanation, but it definitely seemed like that needed explanation, or to just not exist.
Yeah! Like, just what the fuck? Like, I mean, make your creative thing, whatever, that's cool, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna tell you, you did not build to the scene of the the drifter chick killing the mom. You just straight up didn't do it. You didn't. You just didn't.
Yeah, your vision was clouded. You had something in your eye. Your vision was using only one eye.
Yes, which in a film about seeing seems troublesome. Speaking of raging out about films, I saw a wonderful review today or rather it was a wonderful review that spoke very angrily about the author's hatred of the new film Pixels. I haven't seen that. Part of me wants to see it, but part of me is like, they just tried to make Wreck-It Ralph for adults. Kinda, but without any actual, the consistent point made by the reviewer, and I gotta look him up because he was just absolutely fucking fantastic. Was that it's a movie that completely trades in nostalgia for and a supposed love of these specific things, and then shows no actual love of them. The kind of 90-degree angle of, we've got to kill these video game things that have invaded our universe. And it being incredibly inconsistent as to the motivations of the aliens, whether or not they could be reasoned with. The positions that they play in the games don't really make any sense. They're the player in Centipede, and they're the ghosts in Pac-Man. Whole bunch of weird things. That explains why the stupid car he was driving was blue in the fucking commercial. Yeah, and says Inky, or whichever one. Yeah, that's literally, they're the ghosts in the Pac-Man thing. And I was literally like, this is just fucking stupid. But again, yeah, I wonderful, angry review, and I've got to look up that guy's name, and everyone listening to this should check out this review, because, oh man, he just tears into it. Mm-hmm. Some of the invective he uses to describe that film is just wonderful. I think my favorite quote being, "This isn't a film, it's an active crime scene. And the murder victim is culture?" Something like that. It's just absolutely wonderful. It was this isn't a film, it's an active crime scene. I was like, flavor. Truly delightful. No. It's interesting the both necessity and power that a review has, and the flip side of it, what have you done, asshole? What gives you the right to criticize something that people theoretically put time and passion into? I'm going to say theoretically with films like that. The film at hand. I have problems with Adam Sandler and Adam Sandler movies, but I do also love the amount that he's gone to support his friends, and he was the big name. He attained fame and popularity, and he's had the B-list, C-list friends that have been with him from the beginning. Is you need money, you want to be in a movie, fucking hook this guy up. Yeah. Well, which I think is beautiful and it's admirable. I completely agree, and I feel like he is he is constantly collaborating with those people, and they are coming up with ideas together and working on stuff together. The problem is that the comedy hasn't evolved at all. Yeah. And this is another article I was reading the other day that I thought put it very well, is that his comedy hasn't really developed since the late 90s. And it does not hold up. Mm-hmm. Well, I think part of the problem too is, especially with him and a few other actors, both comedic and non-comedic, you do what works, and you are told to play that character so often that it kind of becomes what you do. Yeah. And I think that's probably part of the problem. Because, some of the shit that he did back on SNL was great. Oh, fucking golden. And I think he's de-evolved since then because he's found what sold and, tried to bottle it. Yeah. Which you can never do. Which is unfortunate. And that's also, I totally agree with you. The examples of when he moves outside of his comfort zone, I've really enjoyed. Perfect example, Reign Over Me with Don Cheadle. Don't know anything about it, actually. Honestly, really, really good film. I enjoyed the crap out of it. There's definitely some issues with it, but the whole basic idea being that he's this kind of it starts with him being kind of like the standard like man boy, archetype that he embodies, with him being kind of like non-functional in society, and he spends like all of his time drumming, but the whole thing about it is that he like is actually like a super high-end like quality drummer, like studio quality drummer, and he had like a really successful career and a bunch of stuff, and his whole family was wiped out in the September 11th attacks, and he's completely retreated into his own reality, and the film is Don Cheadle like reaching him, and I was really impressed with what Sandler did, and I was like, this was fresh. This was real, and it's definitely not a fucking comedic film.
Right.
But you're stretching yourself, you're going in new directions, pull from that. Pull those realities into what you're doing with comedy. Because there's an old adage, comedy is tragedy plus distance.
Right.
Be that time or space. And, apply that.
I think he has done some interesting things with darker comedies, like Punch Drunk Love and Funny People.
I've heard good reviews of Punch Drunk Love. I didn't see it or Funny People. Okay. So I can't form an opinion.
Funny People kind of goes off the deep end at points, but I liked it, and as far as newer Sandler goes, it's probably one of the ones that's more worth watching. I mean, I'm not trying to say
standard of new
go out
Sandler.
and see grown-ups too, people. Like that would be terrible. I never saw it, and I only heard awful things.
I didn't see either Grown Ups or Grown Ups 2, and I certainly did not. Yeah, I have no interest. No fucking interest. I have about as much interest in that as I do in Paul Blart Mall Cop 2,
oh, God.
which also has Kevin James, or anything featuring Donald Trump. So that's
what if we had a movie about Donald Trump starring Kevin James? Would you watch that?
Actually, probably yes. That would be either brilliant or such a shit show it had to be viewed.
It'd be like the classic case of two wrongs actually making a right.
Yeah, which they do every once in a while, Oh my God, that would be something. Or, of course, we could have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Patrick Stewart, as Kevin James, as Donald Trump. And see, this is
just so many deep levels of who am I anymore?
I'm a dude playing a dude pretending to be another dude.
Yeah.
Are you really the dude who doesn't know which dude he is? Oh, fucking Tropic Thunder! I saw that 2-3 times in theaters, and I don't go to theaters. Man,
it was a great fucking flick, and you could tell that pretty much everybody that was in it just fucking enjoyed making it, and there was a lot of people who were kind of playing themselves. I mean, Jack Black was Jack Black.
Yes.
And I think the best singular role in that for me was Tom Cruise as the movie exec guy.
Les Grossman.
Yes.
Fucking pitch perfect. Who's the key grip? I want you to punch the director really hard in his fucking face. That shit. Well, that for me, it was such a perfect skewering of the film industry and of people related to acting and the technical ends of acting and filmmaking, theater and filmmaking as a whole. That for me was a huge part of the humor, because having gone to theater school, gone through that, every single one of the actors, the characters who were the actor characters, were perfect exemplars of people you meet going through trying to do professional acting. And seeing how beautifully and how clearly they did that was so delicious.
Yeah.
And then having them include the fact that, the key grip is the buffest guy on set. He's the guy who it will hurt the most if he punches you in the face. And they straight called that out. And just, beautiful. Beautiful. I was going to try earlier to segue into Donald Trump, but honestly, I don't even know if I can.
I think that's a whole can of beans.
Yeah, massive can of beans that I can't even.
Can of beans that illegally crossed into this border.
Yeah, who's the rapist Trump? That's been the whole most recent fun thing, which I don't know if you've heard about.
I haven't. I'm unhip.
During there was a whole thing where during his divorce proceedings from Ivanka, I can't remember. One of them is his daughter and one of them is his wife, and it's creepy either way.
Right.
His wife in the late 80s, part of their divorce proceedings was that she originally was like, there were times where he forced me to have sex and I didn't want to while we were married, and described it as rape, which legally
it
is rape. Marital rape became illegal in the state of New York in 1984 and was illegal in every state in the United States by 1993, which in and of itself is horrifying that it took that fucking long for marital rape to be illegal, but side issue. Later she went back and said it wasn't rape from a legal point of view, but I definitely felt violated by the experience. Kind of. It is rape. If you said no and he did it anyway, then that legally is rape. But okay, it's past the statute of limitations, whatever.
Yeah.
There was this whole thing where a reporter from the Daily Beast contacted the Trump campaign and had a bunch of questions. And one of them was, so you made this whole big thing about rapists coming from Mexico and everything else. What about all the rape stuff from your ex-wife?
Your past.
Hey! And Trump's personal lawyer, not his campaign, Trump's personal lawyer responded with a whole big angry comment about that started with and the case law is very clear. You can't rape your spouse. It's impossible. There's no way to rape your spouse legally. And then proceeded to threaten the reporter with things like you better fucking tread softly or the things I do to you will be fucking disgusting. Actual quote. And of course all of this was publicized. And it's just one of those things where it's it's a train wreck that just keeps going. You know how people stare at a train wreck and ends.
Oh yeah.
And the Trump train wreck just keeps going. And I mean, this has been covered widely in media, but I read this yesterday and was just I can't.
Yeah, no,
I can't even.
Trump is a clown, and pretty much whenever you run for office, things about your past are gonna get dug up. So you gotta fucking expect it. It's a shame that Trump's lawyer wasn't nearly as eloquent as Mike Tyson. And he wasn't I'm gonna fuck you till you love me, faggot.
Just truly laying on the line there exactly where Trump stands. I would love to actually have Trump do that during a fucking campaign rally. Have someone be like, Mr. Trump, what about the fact that you're full of shit? And just have him be like, I'll fuck you till you love me, faggot. The New York accent. God, that'd be so fucking terrible, but I'd watch it. I'd watch it on repeat. That'd be so funny.
Yes, it would.
Oh my God. And he's gonna go independent. He's gonna do what Teddy Roosevelt did when he created the Bull Moose Party. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I love it. The political drama. Sorry for that detour into the political from the.
It's perfectly fine. I mean, we've talked about a lot about things that are awful and pain and misery, and we all know Patrick Stewart had to endure a lot of that growing up. But it's interesting how he's been able to move past it, be such a strong supporter of anti-domestic abuse, domestic violence. And I think when you have something that powerful that you can use constructively and is real emotion, real passion to grow on, it makes your performances even better.
Yes, I completely agree, and that I feel that he brought that pain to his performance in Chain of Command. Every moment of it.
It's one of those things that I truly believe in that whole beautiful sadness.
Yeah. That
something is so sad, but you're able to channel it and express it in a certain way that it just. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, and there's a wonderful quote that I believe was Martha Graham who originally said it about artists having this divine dissatisfaction. There's no satisfaction ever. There's only this divine dissatisfaction. And I think that's why a lot of these artists who are really, truly great and connect to a huge number of people and are able to funnel their own emotions into it comes from this base sadness, this base dissatisfaction that comes from this, from a lot of pain inside of you. Because everybody hurts, just most people don't know how to channel it and make it visible for other people.
Right.
And especially with the tenderness with which, Patrick Stewart has talked about the domestic abuse stuff, but also the fact that he has started charities for domestic abuse victims, and for the same reason, from his childhood, has started a whole bunch of charities for helping soldiers with PTSD.
Right.
Because that was a huge source of the abuse, was the fact that his father had what was then called shell shock.
Right.
And the treatment was get over it.
Right.
Which, before these concepts were thoroughly understood. And that tenderness and that understanding of all those different sides, I think, feeds a lot of the brilliance of some of his roles, particularly roles like Picard, who never looks at it one-sidedly. He's always looking at all the different angles. And there's such a wonderful mirror of that in who Patrick Stewart really is, even though obviously, he's not the son of a French inventor, intergalactic explorer. Right. But, in my heart, he always will be. You hear me, Patrick? Do you hear me, Patrick? Other Patrick will always believe that you flew through space.
Oh, God, what if all Patricks shared some sort of awkward mental language they could commune with one another?
Like fucking Sense 8, just with all the Patricks, networked around the globe. That would just... No. The horror of that. I mean, I'd be linked to Pat Buchanan,
Well, we have to draw a line somewhere, but yes.
Yeah, no, that's true. If you abandon Patrick for the shortened moniker of Pat, you are no longer one of us. We cut you off from the collective. Die alone.
If you're going to deny the Rick, you can no longer be the Patrick.
Excellent. You must have both Pat and Rick. A la, Rick and Morty. I think we all need a little bit of Rickiness.
But yeah, I was reading something the other day. I think it was an online article, and I can't even remember who published it, but it was something along the lines of depression with comedians, and part of why they want to make people laugh and feel happy is so that they see the problems within themselves, and they kind of want to make it so other people don't necessarily experience what they experience, which I think is something beautiful, and it also applies to Patrick Stewart, because especially as he's aged, he's got such a great fucking humor about himself.
Oh, wonderful.
I mean, his character on fucking American Dad is beautiful.
His whole blossoming of, and I think the original quote that a lot of that discussion has come from is the Robin Williams quote about I think that the funniest people are actually frequently the saddest people, because they know what it's like to be sad and they don't want anyone else to experience it. I've loved watching Patrick Stewart's blossoming as, I keep using that term today, but blossoming into...
He is a beautiful flower.
He is the most beautiful, a sunflower that takes so long to open to the sun, but then follows it incessantly. Or like heirloom roses. I don't know. We can debate about what kind of flower Patrick Stewart is, I think, a different time. But, what were we just talking about?
Patrick Stewart's kind of old age transcendence into the comedian nature, and American Dad, and...
just showing how far out there he's willing to go with, in terms of the irreverence and the just... the humor about himself that he's willing to put out there, that just shows so much of the fact that he understands his place in things, and that, as he can be skewered. He's perfectly happy to skewer himself. And the fact that by all accounts he's essentially now like smoking buddies with Seth MacFarlane, and Seth uses him in fucking everything because they love working together.
Yeah,
it's such a weird pairing.
there was that one off bit where he was playing Joe's baby in Family Guy and being nursed by Meg Griffin, but Meg didn't really. It was weird and out there, yeah.
Okay, I've missed the last 3 seasons of Family Guy.
I don't know what season this was in, but there's an episode where Meg ends up taking care of Joe and basically falls in love with him because he's damaged, and she needs to feel needed and she needs to be there for him.
Oh God!
So she kind of has this downward spiral into becoming Bonnie, and part of that is taking care of the baby, who is of the age where the baby needs to nurse. So Meg attempts to nurse the baby, but obviously she's not lactating.
No. Oh, it's like version 2 of that horrible scene where Peter's breastfeeding Stewie and
yeah.
But Patrick Stewart is the baby. That's what you're leading up to.
Yes.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's like a circle of life thing, He's Bullock and the baby, Alpha and Omega. Christ child. Demon.
Well, going back to Bullock, too, there's a bit when he's talking about, taking care of his baby and trying to go out and meet chicks and how it doesn't really work because it's the whole cradle to grave in one look.
That's beautiful. I think my favorite Bullock moment is for all times gonna be the Bullock cover of I Love Little Girls when he's dating Haley?
Yeah.
Haley. And comes in wearing her bathrobe and the fuzzy pink slippers and is singing just I love little girls, they make me feel so good. And he does the whole dance, and it's Patrick Stewart doing it. And I just about peed myself fucking laughing the first time I saw that. It was so wrong. So very wrong.
Oh.
So here's to you, Patrick Stewart. You have fueled an immense amount of our joy, a huge amount of this podcast today. Ladies and gentlemen, dear listeners, out there sitting on your sofa beds and your lazy boys and your hammocks in the sun, your orchard of apricots.
Wherever you are, we hope you're in a far better place than us. And I think that'll about do it for us on the
do us for it.
Yeah. That'll about do it for us on TBD podcast. But we thank you for joining us.
Definitely, and as we always remind our listeners, at the end of our podcast, TBD is of course not to be determined. It's 2 big dudes because we're somewhat large. But signing off here from TBD, this is Patrick. You're all beautiful.
This is Etienne, and don't give in to the suffering.
Oh, hell no! I ain't getting out of bed today.